Hello everyone, you have come to Tata Comic Preview channel. Let read together. Have fun. I like to hit hard like this. Lu Sheng grinned, revealing his white teeth. The true meaning of martial arts lies in fighting. Life doesn't stop, fight doesn't stop. He likes and enjoys the feeling of the blade coming, the scalp is numb, and the blood is boiling. Lu Sheng's hands suddenly opened, his fingers clasped together, making a sound of gold and iron mingling. Then go straight to the leader. He is only 8th grade. He does not have the power of heaven and earth as filling and support. But he has an immortal star. He has a brilliant star vein diagram. He has 356 immortal cells that have been ignited by divine fire. He doesn't borrow heaven and earth. It is still a hard rock, not a chicken. The golden light in Lu Sheng's eyes quickly faded, and a light gray climbed up instead. Valkyrie State. 10th level martial arts, cut off the sky. Finger-to-finger collision, confrontation. A crisp sound of clanging sounded. At the position where the two fingers were fighting, the curtain of the void was torn open, black gaps appeared, and fine black lightning jumped. Invisible fluctuations are either fast or slow, spreading out in circles from the center of the outbreak. The 9th level martial saints on the edge of the battlefield even had to summon the power of heaven and earth to bless themselves in order to barely stay in place and not be pushed further. Their support force was like a plastic film cloth blown by the strong wind, making a crackling sound. This is a real 10th level battle. These 9th level people are completely unqualified to participate. That's what makes Lu Sheng's strength even more terrifying. Lu Sheng's 10 fingers and the guide's 2 fingers clashed, creating a dazzling effect. The guide's eyes glowed strangely, and he saw familiar traces in Lu Sheng's fingering, and couldn't help but say, "Where did you learn this fingering?" 060U. Lu Sheng responded casually. The guide looked a little stunned. But a few key words quickly flashed back to his mind. Defensive amulet that contains a trace of his martial arts will, the pole that died in the hands of Lu Sheng. The aura collided, and the truth was faintly revealed. Seeing Lu Sheng's eyes suddenly became a little more terrifying. What kind of comprehension is this starry sky monster? At this time, Lu Sheng suddenly retreated without fire and smoke, withdrew dozens of meters away. He spread out his hands and saw 10 fingers dripping with blood, skin and muscles crumbling inch by inch. At this stage, the stars are immortal, and there is still a gap between head-on and 10th level confrontation. The injury was tragic, but Lu Sheng looked calm. He flipped his hands over, and all the injuries on his fingers recovered in half a breath. The stellar immortal body is a wonderful product of the stellar immortality technique and natural breathing method, with powerful and magical self-healing ability. After recovering from the injury, Lu Sheng shook hands into fists and punched the leader flat. This fist set off a fiery wind between heaven and earth. The wind blows, and the water vapor between the sea and the sky is suddenly empty. It is obviously the most abundant water vapor in the sea area. At this moment, it gives a very dry and hot feeling. It was like suddenly coming to the desert Jedi. All of a sudden, I think of the dry and cracked earth, the dry rivers and lakes, and the scorched scene of the world. This feeling intensified when Lu Sheng's punch was completely thrown. An unparalleled golden light gushed out from his body. Then 10 rounds of burning golden suns condensed around him. These 10 golden suns revolved around Lu Sheng, spinning rapidly, emitting terrifying light and terrifying heat that scorched the world. Lu Sheng is located in the 10 rounds of scorching sun, and his figure is as brilliant as the innate deity in ancient legends. His eyes were fixed, and he spoke calmly. Welcome to the 5th season of The Elder. 11th level boxing and martial arts. 5 seasons boxing. It is said that in ancient times, in addition to spring, summer, autumn and winter, there was a 5th season between heaven and earth. When the 5th season arrives, there will be 10 days in the sky. The infinite light and heat will scorch the mountains, rivers, and the earth, and all living beings will die in the heat. Heaven and earth have been reduced to an oven, burning everything. Inherited to the 11th level martial arts of the 11th level powerhouse Eastern Evil Yang Wanghe. Fist pushes the ancients, magic shows myth. At this moment, in the hands of Lu Sheng, the terrifying light belonging to the 11th level martial arts finally bloomed. Unfortunately, my understanding of such boxing is still very rough and shallow, otherwise these 10 days will not revolve around me, but will surround the opponent, forming the trend of the world's oven, compressing all the power into a range, destroying I don't know how many times to increase the power. Lu Sheng felt a little regretful. In the absence of the corresponding martial arts memory inheritance, how can the 11th level martial arts be so easy to understand? This little bit of fur he has mastered is still thanks to the blessing of the god of war. Otherwise, even the 10-day rotation will not be able to be played. But even so, the 11th level martial arts 5 seasons boxing technique, with the immortal body of the star and the immortal cells ignited by 365 divine flames. The power that erupted was terrifying enough. 10 days in the sky, 10 days in rotation. The heat wave turned the invisible into the visible, and the void was burned to a twisted black. The sea level below dropped rapidly, and a huge amount of seawater was evaporated to dryness. The 9th level martial saints such as Cumberland could no longer maintain their original viewing points, and kept retreating. On the way there was a yacht rushing fast from the sea level. Lin Zhengyue, who was among the more than 20 martial saints, was quick to catch a certain figure on the yacht. Dong Qingxue was taken high into the sky by invisible force, and her body was still struggling. Lin Zhengyue frowned and said, "Don't die. Even we dare not approach the battlefield there. You go in and die. I'll accompany Lu Sheng." Dong Qingxue's expression was calm, and the distant scene was reflected in her eyes. She couldn't see Lu Sheng's figure, only 10 golden light balls that were burning. There are also volcanic hellish horror scenes. The unmanned yacht exploded abruptly after rushing out for several kilometers, and a spark burst on the sea surface, burning thoroughly, leaving no wreckage. It shows the horror of the heat wave. Dong Qingxue's eyes flickered, but she remained firm. It wasn't until Lin Jingyue's words that the firmness in her eyes loosened. "Don't worry, Lu Sheng will be fine. He is looking for a breakthrough now, and you will be the greatest help to him if you don't disturb him." Dong Qingxue nodded silently and stood still in the air. Lin Zhengyue looked at this woman who was extremely ordinary except for her appearance, with a slightly complicated expression on her face. He suddenly understood why Lu Xinghui had fallen in love with her. The sea area with a radius of tens of kilometers has completely turned into a purgatory scene. Hot. In addition to being hot, extreme heat. Even the 10th level body of the leader with dark golden hair felt the slightest heat, and his body began to sweat a lot. He looked at Lu Sheng, who was covered in golden lines and carried with him for 10 days, like an ancient noble god who walked out of myths and legends. There was a huge shock and disbelief on his face. The martial arts magic power corresponding to the physique of extraordinary life? Directly pointing to the 11th level law? You figured it out yourself? The guide can't believe it, but has to believe it. Under this heat wave, his dark blonde hair showed signs of being slightly curly. Stone novel. But it can't match the shock in my heart. Surprised, shocked, ecstatic, bewildered. All kinds of emotions come together and are quite complicated. He couldn't describe it, he only knew one thing. This time to Azure Star really found a treasure. His. The guide took a deep breath, and bursts of hot air were sucked into his lungs. Then his whole being moved. A large amount of the general trend of heaven and earth that was compressed into the martial body was stimulated, triggering the majestic natural energy. Outside of his body, a slightly larger humanoid body was formed. This method is much more complicated, solid, powerful, and profound than those of the 9th level martial saints such as Cumberland. This Dharma body is like a pair of incomparable battle armor, which firmly protects the guide and moves with his movements. Star Streamer. The guide looked serious, and slowly pointed to Lu Sheng. The condensed law on the surface of his body also pointed out a finger. This finger is radiant to the extreme, like a bursting star, and like a mysterious streamer that occasionally crosses in the depths of the starry sky. The finger of the law and the fist of Lu Sheng's 10th rotation collided fiercely. An extremely dazzling light bloomed. The world has lost its color. The sea level is split, the sky above is split, and the void is split. Flames, boiling water, heat waves, aurora. It's hard to describe what it was like. Suffice it to say, if the apocalypse had symbols, that's how it should be. When all the turmoil and the raging energy subsided, Lu Sheng and the dark blonde long-haired man stood opposite each other. Lu Sheng's expression was calm, his hands drooping naturally, and he was still as noble and stalwart as a god. The guide looked at the index finger and middle finger of his right hand. His originally slender two fingers, at this time, the top part still completely disappeared, and there is still a residual terrifying power entrenched on them. Needs him to clear before trying to restore. That is to say, the bang just now. He lost. The 10th level body was injured, and it was still injured in a mere 8th level hand. Unbelievable, if you say it, no one will believe it. The guide muttered to himself, then put down his hand and looked at Lu Sheng in front of him. Do not fight. He opened his mouth and explained, if you fight again, the general trend of heaven and earth and cosmic energy in this area will be completely disordered, and this planet will also be injured. Compared with the starry sky, ordinary planets are still too fragile to withstand powers above level 10. You also don't want your home planet to be hurt. Lu Sheng nodded, the gray in his eyes subsided, and he also withdrew from the state of the god of war. Wushan state +5 realm boxing +5 season boxing. It was already his ultimate fighting power. If he continued to play, he would have to turn over the final trump card, Shattered Void. Even Lu Sheng couldn't predict and control the consequences of the broken void. The leader named Lan Chen in front of him was not bad for him. Just to learn from each other, there is no need to develop to the step of immortality. The most important thing is that in the fight with Lan Chen just now, the fusion progress of Lu Sheng's spiritual power and martial body has exceeded 99%. He was only a little bit away from complete fusion, and he could turn around and think about it for himself to complete consummation without any pressure. Then it's a pointless fight. You are really nice. The guide Lan Chen looked at Lu Sheng and said with emotion, a person like you is destined to belong to the starry sky and the battlefield. Have you considered it? When will you leave me? In such a hurry? Lu Sheng frowned. I'm in a hurry for you. Lan Chen said. You are an extraordinary life physique, and you won't be able to give you the pressure you want until you reach the 9th level. This is even more obvious once it breaks through the 9th level. But if you want to enjoy life for a few more years, that's fine. Lan Chen thought about it, grabbed something similar to a cell phone communicator out of thin air, and threw it to Lu Sheng. Well, I'll give you enough time. When you feel almost, just use the communicator to contact me directly. Lan Chen emphasized, this kind of communicator with a maximum coverage of 200 light-years is very expensive. You have to be careful not to break it. A way of signal propagation faster than light. Lu Sheng looked at the small communicator in his hand and was secretly surprised. He recalled Lan Chen's action of grabbing something out of thin air, and couldn't help but ask, where did you take this thing out? Space storage props? Lan Chen glanced at him in surprise, you know a lot. More or less. Lan Chen shook his right hand, and Lu Sheng noticed that he was wearing a dark blue bracelet on his wrist. Noticing Lu Sheng's envious and longing eyes, Lan Chen hurriedly put down his hand and said, boy, don't hit me. Several 9th level space props on your planet have similar space props, but the styles are relatively old. You can go to them and ask for them. When Lu Sheng heard Lan Chen's words, he suddenly recalled what Lin Zhengyue had sent over, belonging to Zhao Ji's legacy, a small portable, Xiaohao, box. He hadn't checked. His expression changed, he nodded, and said, got it. Okay, then I won't talk nonsense with you. Lan Chen made a random move, and a dark blue aircraft with more than half a football field descended on his head from a high altitude. A beam of light shot down from the bottom of the aircraft, wrapping Lan Chen in it. Lan Chen stood in the middle of the beam of light, and while slowly rising, he said his final instructions to Lu Sheng. Within 10 years, you must contact me within 10 years. Before contacting me, it is best to have been promoted to the 9th level. Also, I can't give you the next energy crystal share. 500 kilograms of energy crystals is not a small amount. At last. At the moment when his body was about to sink into the aircraft, Lan Shen said, "Lu Sheng, don't forget. You owe me 3 favors in total." The bottom of the aircraft was closed, and it was activated immediately. In just 1 second, it broke through the sky and completely disappeared into the atmosphere. Lu Sheng looked stunned. 3? Where did the 3 favors come from? Wasn't it just 2? When he noticed the black communicator in his hand, he was immediately speechless. Is this thing considered a favor? This guy is too fussy about it. While complaining, Lu Sheng casually played with the communicator in his hand. This thing is quite simple to operate, almost like a mobile phone. Otherwise, Lan Shen would not have left without leaving the operating instructions. Lu Sheng pressed a button on the communicator, the screen of the communicator emitted blue light, and then projected a 3-dimensional portrait 5 centimeters high. It is Lan Shen, lifelike. Lu Sheng, what are you doing? The 5-inch tall Lan Shen looked at Lu Sheng in surprise, and said, "Have you changed your mind so soon? Then I'll turn around and pick you up now?" "No." Lu Sheng shook his head, "I'll give it a try, see if this thing works or not. After the energy is consumed, honestly wait 10 years on the blue star, even if you try it, you are welcome to come and chat with me at any time." Lan Shen cut off the signal with a dark face. Little family. Lu Sheng shook his head, swiped the communicator twice, and found that there are many interesting functions on the communicator. Can play games and connect to something called Serpent Star Network. However, for fear of wasting energy, Lu Sheng didn't try too much, just turned off the communicator and put it away. At this time, he glanced at everything around him, and found that the sea area that had experienced the battle between him and Lan Shen had already become a Jedi on Earth. There is 1,000-degree high-temperature water vapor everywhere, accompanied by alternating hot and cold winds, tsunamis, sea whirlpools. The reason for these extreme celestial phenomena is the incomparably chaotic situation of the heavens and the earth in this sea area. Relying on the self-resilience of the planet, I'm afraid it will take a long time. Lu Sheng now fully understands the meaning of what Lan Shen said before. The strength of a 10th-level warrior is still far from that of a starburst, but it is still easy to disrupt the world on a planet. The chaos of heaven and earth will cause such extreme weather. For a planet of 760, it is nothing, but it is a disaster for the life on the planet, or it is the extinction of life. I don't know whether the crisis of extinction described in the dream space is just a star powerhouse that I can't defeat, or a terrifying power that really has the power to explode stars. It can also destroy the world, but the strength of the two is completely different from the same concept. Lu Sheng thought about it, and walked in the distance with a sway. Cumberland and the others stood there, and from a distance, they saw a tall figure walking towards them in midair. His 9-foot martial body was revealed, covered with gorgeous and noble golden lines. The black hair fluttered and danced in the sea breeze, and behind him was a purgatory-like scene of the end of the world. He was like a god who had just returned from the riots in purgatory. Cumberland and the others trembled. All lowered their heads. Lu Sheng walked step by step, and with each step, part of the golden lines on his body faded away. When he walked completely to Cumberland and the others, he had turned back from a god to a mortal. Beyond martial saint, thank you. Lu Sheng sincerely thanked Lin Zhengyue. Just now he was holding Dong Qingxue, and Lu Sheng was watching. Lord Lu, you're welcome, this is what I should do. If Lin Zhengyue called Lu Sheng an adult before, there was also some equal and friend-like feelings in the respect, and the small gesture of the seniors to the juniors. Your strength is awesome, but I have deep experience. I respect you, but don't go too far. But now, Lin Zhengyue's adult has completely eliminated some of the messy things. Just awe. Lu Sheng and Lin Zhengyue said politely, and then turned their attention to Cumberland and the others. Cumberland and the others were swept across by Lu Sheng's gaze, and immediately their hearts tightened and their bodies tensed. They are not fools, and they can somewhat see the leader's attitude towards Lu Sheng. Lu Sheng had been disrespectful to the leader before, but not only was the leader not angry, he even gave away the energy crystal share this time, and he personally went off to accompany Lu Sheng to learn from each other. This Nima. I don't know, I thought it was my own son. The leader can't control Lu Sheng, and Lu Sheng's own strength is terrifyingly strong. In the future, the blue star. It is really about to become a garden for Lu Sheng. Cumberland and the others were frightened at the thought, but Lu Sheng's attitude towards them was not as bad as he imagined. You clean up over there. Lu Sheng pointed to the battlefield remnant between him and Lan Qin in the distance. Over there, the situation of heaven and earth is disordered, and it will take a long time to rely on the natural recovery power of the planet. With the help of a Marshall Saint-level powerhouse, the recovery will be much faster. Yes. Cumberland and the others did not have any objection, and immediately flew towards the Sea of Purgatory. The closer you get, the more you can feel the horror of the previous battle. The deeper the understanding of Lu Sheng's strength, the deeper the awe. Lu Sheng also assigned Tan Zhongyu, leaving Lin Zhengyue alone. Lu Sheng spoke to Dong Qingxue first. You take this. Lu Sheng gave Dong Qingxue the communicator Lan Qin gave, and then briefly explained to her what it was, and asked her to keep it safe. Dong Qingxue grabbed the communicator, her eyes flashing. You're not going back with me? Do you have anything else to do? Lu Sheng nodded and thought, I'm only one step away from the 9th level, and I have a feeling for the battle with the guide. I have to retreat immediately and hit the 9th level. All right. There was a hidden loss in Dong Qingxue's eyes. Lu Sheng looked a little guilty, thought about it, and whispered a few words in Dong Qingxue's ear. Dong Qingxue blushed instantly, but soon returned to normal, nodded and said, Okay, I'll listen to you. Lin Zhengyue felt embarrassed when she saw Lu Sheng and Dong Qingxue greasy, and didn't dare to say a word, so she could only turn her head to one side, pretending to be looking at the distant scenery. Fortunately, Lu Sheng and Dong Qingxue talked for a while, and soon it was his turn. Trouble going beyond Wu Sheng to do something for me. Lu Sheng said to Lin Zhengyue seriously, I'll be a little relieved if I leave this matter to you. Lin Zhengyue listened with a solemn expression, and hurriedly replied, Lord Lu, just give your orders. Lu Sheng raised his hand and stretched out a finger to randomly point on Lin Zhengyue's forehead. O.M. Before Lin Zhengyue could react, she felt that there was something in her mind. Is a map. This is. Lin Zhengyue asked in doubt while horrified by Lu Sheng's methods. Lu Sheng said lightly, the distribution map of the blue star energy crystal. What? Lin Zhengyue's body vibrated, and a moving expression appeared on her face. Trouble surpassing Wu Sheng to run a few more times and help me collect as many energy crystals as possible. Don't worry, I won't let you run in vain, you can reserve the next part. Lu Sheng explained. At this level, the resources on Azure Star are not that important to Lu Sheng anymore. He will soon leave the blue star, rather than rotten these resources in his hands, it is better to take them out to benefit the entire planet. Lu Sheng even decided to take out the resource distribution map of the dense iron dense silver dense gold mine and hand it over to the Long Kingdom military department. Of course, before he left, he still had to harvest a batch of Ningjing, which he could use in the future. Don't dare to live up to Lord Lu's trust. Lin Zhengyue solemnly salutes Lu Sheng.